All right. Good day, everyone. Thank you and welcome to this live ConnectWise Mastery Series Ask Me Anything or AMA presentation. So today's AMA or Ask Me Anything is on finance. And our goal today is to give the entire ConnectWise community that's interested in that finance module in PSA a chance to ask any questions you might have about that finance module. So that could be anything from invoicing to agreements and more. We also have some pre-existing questions that we can help to use to facilitate discussion as well. And without further ado, let's have our speaker introduction. So we will have with us today from the product team, Matt Skirty, who is a product manager at ConnectWise. He's based out of Tampa, Florida, and he joined ConnectWise over 10 years ago. He had 4 years on the support team before joining the product team, and he's a ConnectWise PSA product subject matter expert. So Matt's here with us, and he'll be able to answer the questions you have. And I'm also here with my awesome colleague.
Morning, everyone. My name is Mike Heaton. I am a senior partner success manager here at ConnectWise. I've been here for 10 years. Before partner success, I was part of the PSA consulting team. And prior to that, I was at an accounting firm. So I am one of the SMEs for the finance side of PSA.
All right. Thank you, Matt. Mike, I'm Jennifer Ugochukwu. I'm a software training consultant at ConnectWise. I'm based out of Austin, Texas, and I'm also a business management subject matter expert. And before joining ConnectWise on the education team, I was in an MSP just like you, using ConnectWise solutions and other third-party products to achieve success for that MSP as an administrator. And I also have extensive IT experience helping businesses improve the customer experience. So let's begin with our first question here. So I'll go ahead and read this off to you, but just keep in mind, just some housekeeping throughout this AMA live, there is a questions pod on the side of your screen. So if you have any questions throughout this presentation, please enter them in the chat and we'll be able to answer them. But let's get us started. Mike, would you like to go ahead and read this question? Or I even see something is in the chat here.
Yeah, we can. I'd say let's go ahead and go in the chat since we got some questions out there. So it looks like the first question that we have is, why can't I link directly to an invoice from a ticket? And I'm not quite sure where that question's coming from. I'll probably need to see it. Jennifer, Matt, any thoughts on that one?
Well, it sounds like they might be trying to invoice from a service ticket. So they should be able to bill from the service ticket as usual.
I think, just to clarify a little, I think they're wanting to invoice directly from the ticket screen rather than having to go into the invoicing screen and find what they need to bill for, if I'm reading that correctly. And, this has been a feature request that we've heard from a few partners in the past of, I want a quick way to create some type of invoice from the ticket, whether that's a deposit, a credit memo, or a down payment rather, a credit memo, or just to invoice the ticket itself. So it's definitely something we've heard in the past. Unfortunately, right now, it's not currently possible directly from the ticket. You would have to go into the invoicing screen and find the ticket you're looking to bill for. But the nice thing about tickets is you could set them to bill separately on the finance tab of the ticket. so that you could quickly go into the invoicing screen and find that ticket that you're looking for. But it is an enhancement request. We're aware of it. It's actually something we've been having conversations about internally recently. Invoicing in general, how we can make that a better experience. And this was one item that was brought up for discussion. So we will be keeping that one in mind as we move forward.
I'd also add to that, typically you would have a ticket as closed before you can invoice it as a control point. And so you really wouldn't be able to see that from within the ticket. And so, again, from a control standpoint, it's always good to have a separate section where these are ready to be invoiced at this time because they've hit the correct parameters, closed, time reviewed, etc. Because I could potentially close the ticket but not have the time reviewed. And if that happens, I'm not ready to invoice that particular ticket. So it is a good control point to have all that in one spot. All right, looks like our next question is, why can't I see a financial report directly from a project ticket? And Joe, I think in general, I would start that off with projects are not project ticket based as far as the finance. Finance is really going to be for the base project, the project at whole, or at least at the phase level. So that's one reason why I would assume that this question is coming up. You really wouldn't look at a project ticket directly to see financial information within that project. You would go under the project and go into the finance tab of that project. Anything to add, Matt, Jennifer?
I didn't have anything. You were spot on there, Mike.
All right. I know I've heard this one before. Is there a way to add an email? So for instance, accounts receivable at, etc. So when we send the invoice, it goes not only to the contact or the billing contact, but also to a CC, for instance. And from my recollection, again, I'd have to look at the screen. You can only send invoices on the invoice emailing batch screen to the billing contact or one particular contact. You can set up a workflow rule to set up to send invoices to additional recipients after the fact, but the first invoice is going to be specifically to that billing contact or particular email address that is listed under that account.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. All right. Process flow for change order from sell into an existing project to place orders and bill. So if I were to do that, I would take the quote inside a CPQ. I would convert it over into an opportunity. And then from the opportunity, I would post that into a existing project as an additional phase for a change order. And then that phase would be billed separately. So you can control that particular change order billing in that separate phase. Yeah.
And if that change order does include some product cancellation, there are also steps in the university that you can follow to run any credit memo to the customer if that change order does require you issue a credit. For example, if you already invoiced the customer for a product that they have now requested that change order on.
All right, we'll just keep going down through the list of questions. We got plenty of them.
Yeah.
What do you? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I'll just go ahead and change this slide so it's not confusing what question we're on. Got the question slide here, just so it's not confusing the audience which question we're on, but you're doing a great job, Mike. Go
ahead. What do you need to synchronize procurement POs to QuickBooks Online? WisePay, or I'm sorry, WiseSync. The native QuickBooks Online integration does not send over procurement items. It only sends over invoices. So from a ConnectWise product standpoint, you are looking at WiseSync. When I bill in the annual agreement, it spreads the revenue out in the dashboard over 12 months. Can this be changed? So there is an option to do that, but if I'm doing an annual agreement, that revenue is going to hit that first month because it is an annual. So two options. One, use an annual agreement and go into, for instance, QuickBooks and do a recurring journal entry, to move it out of the deferred account and put it into the income account for each month. So $1,200 annual agreement hits deferred revenue, and then every month QuickBooks does the journal entry to move $100 over into the actual income account. Option two would be you set that up as a monthly agreement, create a down payment invoice restricted to that agreement, and then every month you create that invoice. It is going to essentially do the same thing with the journal entries, but it's automated. So the down payment for $1,200, I created a $100 invoice month 1, month 2, month 3. Each month when I send that over to the accounting package, it is going to journal that out of that deferred account and put it right into your income account. So that's how you would be able to map that out for 12 months over on the accounting package side. All right, next question. And I think we'll leave this one up to Matt. Why is there no report available that shows a list of invoices with the invoice subtotal?
Yeah, so if there's no report that you're finding made available to you, we do have a report writer tool that allows you to view a list of predefined reports we have provided out of the box, but also edit those. And you could also create your own reports from within Report Writer. So if you're finding some type of report that just doesn't have all of the data you're looking for, we do have some documentation on how you could use Report Writer so that you could pull in the data that you would like to show on a report. We realized over the years that our pre-built reports may not have everything that every partner is looking for. And that's why we did introduce the custom report builder tool so that we could give you the flexibility of designing your own reports and choosing what you would and would not like to view on those reports.
I'd also add in the invoice list, once you've created the invoices, you can sort that so you can see what the total is, if it's been paid or not. So there is a natural view that you can create what's in the invoices screen, or invoice search screen, I should say, that you would be able to see that information. All right, I think Joe updated a comment from earlier. He's just trying to find the invoice from the ticket. Joe, what you could do is, if you go into the time screen on that ticket, it's going to have the time entry, and next to it is going to have the invoice number listed on which invoice that time entry was associated to. So if I have one ticket and I put them on 3 different invoices, each one of those invoices is going to be listed in that time screen. From a converted quote, which is closed on the invoice, hold on, let me restart this. From a converted quote, which is closed on the invoice, is there a way to auto-populate something into the reference field, say the name of the quote? The only thing I can think of, aside from using the summary of the ticket, would be, well, you can, if you go into the ticket, you put the PO in that ticket, that would populate in the PO field. Wouldn't populate in the reference field though. I believe that would be a manual update. Shay gave us a question. Oh, she's left. But it's the same answer I gave to Joe. You can see the invoice number in the time tab of the ticket. Within a service ticket, it's impossible to see if, sorry, same one. Does ConnectWise have the ability to send invoices with a link to pay with a credit card?
Yes, if you use the PSA end user portal, you can link a URL to the PSA end user portal so customers can log into the portal and use whatever payment processor you've set up in that portal to pay those invoices. So if you have set up WisePay as your payment processor for the PSA end user portal, absolutely your customers can log in and use credit cards or even a bank debit to pay those invoices. And another great thing about WisePay is that you can also adjust any of those merchant fees for the individual credit cards for those customers. So you can have a lot of customizations available as payment options if you're using WisePay specifically. But you can also set up other payment processors in the end user portal.
All right. I'm not sure I'm following this question, so I'll see if either one of you two, but will PSA ever support adding multiple payments to a single invoice?
So right now, actually, we do support this with via WisePay. So at the moment, WisePay is able to make multiple payments to that invoice, and they are tracked as separate payment line items with each respective date. We are investigating the ability of bringing that same functionality to the regular payments on PSA invoices. So that is something we would like to add in the future here. But at this time, currently that functionality is only available via WisePay.
And I think the next one's somewhat been answered, but I'll throw it out there. There is no invoice tab on the ticket screen. This would be helpful to find an invoice issued against the ticket quickly. Again,
like a common theme, something that would be a good enhancement.
Yep. Good thing we have the product owner on this. But yeah, Time Tab would be able to give you that information. All right. Is it possible to edit an invoice after it's created? We often run into tickets being created, closed, and marked as billable by our text, but later determine that they should be covered underneath the, sorry, I moved the screen. That they should be covered underneath the service. What is the process for recreating the invoice without those incorrect tickets?
So I think you have two options here, right? First would be going into the invoice itself, clicking on the timer products tab, and you can actually detach items from the invoice. So if there are certain time records you did not intend on being on that invoice, you could go in and select them, and there's an action, a mass action to detach records. That will allow those to go back into invoicing. So if there's just individual line items you did not want on the invoice, but if for the most part, the invoice is incorrect and you just want to start over, really deleting the invoice is the best way to go about that. If you delete the invoice, it will send everything back to the invoicing screen for you to either apply to some type of agreement at that point or create a new invoice for. So those would be, or Mike, I'm not sure if you have any other options, but those would be the top two that I would think of.
No, I would say those are right. The other part that I would say is make sure you have the control point in. So again, time records get reviewed. I do recommend the two-step close process where the ticket is completed, it's still open, someone goes in and reviews it from a management perspective, make sure all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, agreements are on those time entries, and once everything is set, you then go ahead and close out that ticket, which allows you to invoice it. So that way you're doing the check up front and you're not having to have someone from the finance team follow up on it. It's all done from the service side, and then the finance team goes ahead and sends that invoice once it is ready. Is there a way to schedule invoices to be emailed automatically? We generate the invoices. However, someone is required to click send from the invoice batch emailing screen. Makes it annoying when it is first or last day of the month or it is a holiday.
So we do have workflow rules for invoices, and one of the items within the workflow rules is the ability to send an email. As you're adding that action of sending an email, there is a field on there for you to attach the invoice. So technically speaking, you could, set up a workflow rule to send out based on, invoice creation, or and you could add some additional filters, for that workflow rule. And the action could be to send the email, attach that PDF invoice to it so that it automatically gets sent out. And you could actually set that to send out multiple times. So if you also want to let them know, hey, it's 5 days before it's going to be past due, here's your invoice again. And then when it is past due, you could even send an additional email to let them know, hey, it's past due. Here's your invoice one more time. Please reach out if you have any questions. So we do have the workflow rules that you could tie into to essentially accomplish what you're looking for there, I think.
Yep. All right, Matt, got another one for you. This question has been asked by this partner since, I believe, 2016 when I implemented them. Are there any new ideas and tricks to have a better commission experience? Right gauge, new features. This question is stemming directly from, we have a very basic commission setup. There's no tiers to it. Is there any plans on bringing in more to the commission side of things?
So right now, we don't have anything on the immediate roadmap to change commissions. One of the big initiatives we have right now is getting PSA into ASIO. And from there, once we have PSA and ASIO, we will be reconsidering how things work for various aspects of the product and taking into consideration various enhancements. And commissions was definitely one of the items that we want to revisit because we realize there may be a lack of control with commissions. You don't have as much flexibility. So it's something on our radar. Our big goal for the remainder of the year is to get PSA into ASIO. And at that point, once we're there, we're going to consider making some changes to features such as commissions after that. So nothing right this second, but stay tuned.
Sounds good. So why can I not use decimal point on products that are used in agreement editions? This doesn't follow any of the accounting basic practices. And
Is this quantity or?
Sounds like they need quantity.
Quantity, right? So
Yeah.
2.5 of.
Okay.
And I mean, I think that's going to be a question for you, Matt.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think if there's a specific reason why we don't allow it. I can't think of any reason why we don't specifically allow this. It might just be something we just haven't introduced as functionality. One thing I will say is part of the PSA and the ASIO initiative is changing how or rethinking how editions are billed. And so it's definitely something I could bring back to the team to have discussions about and see if it's how we might be able to incorporate that and how that might work with our billing structure.
Yeah, and to add to that, I do see a question in the chat. What is ASIO? So ASIO is really ConnectWise's cloud-based platform that is really the future of ConnectWise as far as having everything all in one place. So no longer will you need to go to different screens to get access to all the business management solutions features. It will all be in ASIO. And you can access ASIO now if you have ConnectWise Home and you can log in with SSO enabled, and you can use it as your RMM tool, your CRM, or to create and monitor tickets. Also for business management related to finance, there's also unified billing intake in ASIO that you can use to consolidate all of that usage-based data from your products like SentinelOne or RMM that you sell to your customers, and then update those agreement additions with a simple PSA sync. So ASIO is really that platform that will do it all. I don't know, Mike and Matt, if you have additional things to add?
You did a great job of capturing that, Jennifer.
Yep. All right. I think I'll take this one. It's a very common discussion that I have. So coming from the accounting background, we need to change the behavior of down payment from deferred revenue to the actual income account. Vincent, I'm going to say we do not want to change that behavior. The reason why is a down payment is for cash up front so that you can have some cash flow. It is not a payment directly to a product, service, etc. It is just a general payment to get cash flow moving. If you have not purchased the product, if you've not received the product, if you've not delivered a product or put it or worked on it, you've not delivered the service that was agreed to, so you cannot call that income at that point. It's a revenue recognition item. It is not accrual versus cash. It is purely revenue recognition. And you cannot recognize revenue if you have not delivered the service that you have signed up to deliver. So it is deferred income until you actually deliver that service, perform the installation, whatever it is. And then at that point, when you invoice the standard invoice, it is going to automatically move it from your deferred account into your income account for you. So we had a quick question here. I'm new to CW. I'm a sales rep, and I don't think sales questions are in scope for this webinar. Is that true? This is the finance side of things. Jennifer, do you know when the next sales webinar is going to be?
I don't have that information off the top of my head, but we do have a way that you can use this QR code to review the upcoming sessions. So this series will be running for the next few weeks. There is a sales session. I don't have that information pulled up on my screen here, but you can use this QR code to check that out.
So I know we're running late. Let me just get to this this question right here. Is there a way to account for general time in managing tools like PSA and RMM against all the contracts to determine the business cost of managing the tools for the contracts? So from a tool perspective, as a tech stack, yes, you would put the monthly cost of that tech stack essentially per user and against that agreement. So for instance, RMM, you have a per user account. That cost is going to go into that agreement edition as your cost, which is going to help allow you to tie to your profitability. From a time perspective, that's going to go in as a time entry based off the member profile. So each person should have their fully burdened member cost in the member profiles. And so when you put the labor cost in and you have the tool cost already inside of that agreement, that is where you're going to get your total cost for your profitability tracking. All right, and I know that we're running out of time here, so I'll send it over to you, Jen.
All right, we'll wrap up this session. Thank you everyone so much for joining. Again, please use this QR code to check out the future Ask Me Anything sessions. They're all on various topics, and go ahead and register for those. And you can also stay in touch with Mike, Matt, or I in the ConnectWise virtual community, where you can ask any questions or interact with other TSPs as well. So thank you so much for joining. That is all for today. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone.